You had said that a lot of people who want to go into the business, everybody wants to be a star, but nobody wants to put in the dues. So with you as someone who's definitely been putting in your dues for a long time now, what do you find drives you to put in the dues? Because it's one thing to have the inspiration, to look at other celebrities or prominent musicians and say, I want to do that. That's really appealing to be sharing my gift with the world. But what actually, when it comes down to the grind of it, so to speak, what kind of drives you to really put in what you have to put in to, to accomplish those things?
For me, the difference is I honestly, truly have a love for the craft of music. I love the entire art of it. I love the details of it. I'm a big nerd. Like the notes.
Yeah.
I like the harmonies. I love all the intricacies of music. So that's first and foremost. I think if I didn't have that childlike wonder about music every day, I still do every day. I love it so much. I like to know what makes it tick in every genre. What makes one song better than another, or what makes one voice better than another. I just love the whole thing, or have impact. What makes a song or a lyric powerful. Something strikes me, when something hits me, I want to know all about it. I just still really love music first. It makes it easy to want to do it justice, and I have such respect for it. I want to be better at it all the time. I think that still drives me. No matter what job I'm doing, no matter which artist I'm working with, there's always a challenge in there, and I have to bend myself to meet it, and I just really love it. I don't have a choice.
Yeah. Are there any times that business aspects of things hinder that or make it difficult to stay focused on the art itself?
That happens from time to time. I would say, though, that, just because I've worked so hard and now, for the amount of years that I have, luckily for me, I have the choice of working in situations, with my solo stuff, working, collaborating with people or working with musicians or the clubs that I play in. I get to kind of pick and choose who and where I have good vibes with. Most of the time, if I'm working with somebody, they respect me, I respect them. It's usually a good time. When things go awry or get a little off track, then I kind of step back, and that's time for me to kind of just, regroup.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just saying, it's interesting because you started at the beginning of your recording career in a major label situation, and then you've kind of, I guess it's fair to say, you've kind of been a freelancer for a while now because you do a lot of different things. I'm sure you have people that help you on the business end, but you're not like on lockdown with a label, so to speak. So, I just wondered, like, when it comes to, the mechanics of getting the things to happen and everything, like, do you just kind of go with your instincts, or do you find you have to have like sort of a plan of like how you approach,
I would say it's a whole new world out here right now. It's one thing for artists who are on major labels, and even that has changed so much. I've spent a while now being an independent artist, which has its own set of challenges, but with the challenges also comes such incredible freedom. I get to choose what moves I make and when I make them. And then there's such a beauty and a freedom to that you take the good with the challenging. That's the good part about it. If there's any game plan, sometimes I try to serve the music as best I can. I want it to have a life. But at the end of the day, if I hit two people and two people like what I've done, moved by it, and it has some kind of impact on their life, then I've done what I have to do, and everything else is kind of gravy.
Yeah, well, speaking of impact, it's funny. I was, I just moved, and I was going through some old home videos of mine, and there was one from when I was a teenager, and I was singing His World from the Naked CD. because that was always a song to me that was just so unique, and that's one of the things that really struck me about you. Even I think I was 13 when that CD came out, and I remember both vocally, you were very influential to me because I went to Berklee College of Music. I studied voice, and I was pursuing that for a while. So I remember you as one of the early influences for me growing up, and also just like I said earlier, the versatility. Even though you might have been marketed per se as an R&B artist, I found that you had a lot of different influences on that album that really kind of jumped out at me, and that song was one in particular. So that's an example of definitely, reaching someone, where it's individual. But sort of just to talk a little bit about, how you've gotten to where you are now. Am I correct that when you were like growing up that you started by doing some like commercial work, like TV advertisements and so forth?
Yes. Okay. I started when I was like 5 years old.
Wow.
That was my parents. They just kind of thrust me into the whole world, and I just ate it up and did very well. Did a bunch of Colgate toothpaste ads. you name it. I was on TV a lot.
Really? Okay, so they were on-screen roles.
A lot of on-screen roles. Yeah.
Okay, so was that, because I know you moved around a lot, but was that when you were like in the New York area? Because I know you spent some. Okay.
Yeah, I was in and out of New York. I lived all over the state, but the bulk of it was in New York.
Okay. And was it when you were a kid that you participated in Star Search?
That was right before I got signed to Atlantic.
Okay.
But I was, in my late teens.
Okay.
And I made a decision that I wanted people to know that I could write and I could play, and that it wasn't just about, a face and singing. And so I had the opportunity to go on Star Search, but, I didn't watch the show. I didn't know anything about it. I was like, if I can go on TV and do my own stuff, I'm 18, 19 years old. Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, hasn't been done before, but okay. And because they, I guess if they figure if it's your own stuff, maybe you won't have a shot of winning, and they need fodder or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I won every time, and
wow.
I my own stuff.
I know. Because didn't you do like an early version of His World on there? I think.
I did. His World. I did a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I was on that show like 8 times.
Oh wow! And you ended up. So you won 3 times.
That. Wow. Yeah, I won that.
And it's interesting because one of the first things that you had when you talked about, writing your own songs and getting acknowledged for that was a song you wrote for Stacey Lattisaw called What You Need. And you actually sang on that. And it's funny because, that was before you came out with your CD. And years later when I was listening to him, like, something sounds really familiar about this besides Stacey Lattisaw. And then I looked at the credits and saw, oh my gosh, Nicki Richards wrote it, and that's her voice. That's why... this sounds familiar. So, like, was that was that before Star Search that you landed that song? Was that like the first song you landed, or?
It had to be. It had to be.
Because
there were a bunch of things. No, well, I'm not sure.
Because it was in '89, so that's why I was wondering. Because it was a couple years before.
No, it was probably during that whole time.
Okay, so like. Oh, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, I would imagine it was probably right after Star Search.
Okay.
But things hadn't happened yet. In other words, Star Search happened, and then I had some label wars going. But in the meantime, I was just doing my thing. I was writing and I was producing. It was harder for people to take me seriously as a producer. So that tune I actually co-produced. But those days I didn't get credit for things like that.
Oh well,
it doesn't matter. I was just happy to make music,
Well, no, that's what I was wondering, because at that time, even then, it was still sort of unusual that you saw maybe a female, it seemed to me, at least in the R&B world, a female songwriter kind of placing songs with other artists. So I was just wondering, was it something where, like, was it, I mean, like, how did it work out that you landed that? Was it just a stroke of luck, or were there, like, a lot of hurdles to go through just to land a song, with a major artist like that?
Yeah, I mean, literally, I've been writing songs since since I was a kid. And in other words, I didn't think about it that way. I just thought I'm going to keep doing what I do. Every day I'm going to wake up and be happy to write a song, and maybe I'll collaborate today. Maybe I'll write one by myself today. I'm going to go and hang out at the after-hours clubs, you know, and meet everyone in New York, you know, underage.
Right.
Sing demos for free. I mean, this is years, even as a teenager, that I was on this track. And eventually, you know, I just got to know enough people where, you know, a demo would end up in the right hands, and it's like, oh, this is a good tune. They weren't thinking about me; they were thinking about the music,
the song. So,
and yeah, I just eventually gained respect for the work I was doing, and one thing led to another. A song got to people, and the ball started rolling.